Mrs. Russell, we're going to be having dinner in about 15 minutes, all right? Let me just hold on to your cell phone for safekeeping. Hi, how's it going? How's the weather there? No way, it's still raining. As a mandated reporter, it's important to remember that all you are legally required to do is report. You're not an investigator or a judge. Reporting is your individual responsibility and can't be delegated or passed on to anyone.
You are an individual reporter and you are responsible to make the report. You cannot simply rely on your supervisor or some other administrator to make the report. And so failure to do so means that you are still liable and I will come after you.
While your facility may require you to notify a supervisor or administrator, this does not relieve you of your legally required reporting duties.
A supervisor, an administrator, anybody who's your boss, however you want to define it, they cannot tell you to not report something. No matter what their rules or regulations are internally, you have an obligation to report, and they cannot tell you to not report. If they're doing that, they're absolutely in violation of the law.
You must report if a resident reports abuse to you, if you have witnessed or have knowledge of abuse, or if you reasonably suspect that abuse has occurred.
The reasonable suspicion is just simply whether you think that abuse has occurred. Do I believe that abuse has occurred? It's just a gut-level feeling that you might have. If you're thinking about it and you're thinking, should I report this? The answer is always going to be yes, because if you're engaging in this thought process, it's reasonable suspicion that there's been abuse.
The procedure is simple. First, you must immediately report by telephone to the long-term care ombudsman or local law enforcement.
Anyone who observes abuse or reasonably suspects abuse simply picks up the phone. The numbers usually are posted in most facilities in several different locations. Just pick up the phone, make the call to the ombudsman or the local law enforcement agency nearest you.
The initial phone report from a mandated reporter is not a lengthy process. The name of the facility, the resident involved, if they know any of the employees that might be involved, if it was that type of a report, the time it happened, the date it happened.
After they make that phone call, they must fill out the SOC 341, and they have 2 working days to do that.
The form you use for reporting is the SOC 341. Your facility has copies of the SOC 341 and must make them available. Additionally, your local long-term care ombudsman can give you forms and answer any questions you may have.
While all information on the SOC 341 is very important, please pay special attention to the following. Section A is victim identification information. The victim does not have to participate in the reporting process, and there may be more than one victim. Section B identifies you as the person making the report. Remember, the only individuals who will have this information will be the investigative or enforcement agencies receiving the report. Section D includes information on the type of abuse. Use your best judgment when identifying the specific kind of abuse that may have occurred. Section E is for comments or observations. You also need to list signs of abuse or neglect. Include any specific behavior or statements of the victim.
Section G is for you to list any other individuals that may have knowledge of the incident, the victim, or the alleged abuse. Section H identifies the suspected abuser. You need to provide as much information as possible. Section I identifies the date and to whom you made the telephone report. You must list the name of the person you reported to.
This particular form is available normally in the facility. However, if they don't have one, we will see that they get one by either mailing it to them or delivering it to them in person at the facility.
Again, you are a mandated reporter of known or suspected elder or dependent adult abuse. You are the one who must report immediately by phone to law enforcement or the ombudsman. You are the one who must follow that with a written report within 2 working days. For you, the law is clear. Reporting is your individual duty.
my book. You have my book. That's my book. Come on.
If you have to make a report, it's natural to wonder what happens next.
Although you might never know the final outcome, your report will trigger an investigation that may stop needless suffering.
It may take some time before a mandated reporter sees any results from anything that they report, and a number of agencies may be conducting investigations in ways that the mandated reporter is not aware of.
As a mandated reporter, you have a legal obligation. Because of that, there are strong penalties for anyone who fails to report.
Failure to report is a very serious matter. The penalties are substantial. If you fail to report, you could receive up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. But if great bodily injury or death takes place because of a failure to report, the penalties increase to 1 year in jail and a $5,000 fine. And we as a society are taking this very seriously, and we will move forward to prosecute for failure to report.
The law recognizes your sensitive position as a mandated reporter. Because of that, you are provided with 2 key protections. The first is immunity from civil and criminal liabilities.
If an employee reports something, their employers can't do anything to them in retribution, that their employers would be breaking the law if they did that. The law strictly prohibits the facility, or the employer, if you will, from taking any action against them. They'd be vigorously prosecuted.
The second protection you have is confidentiality. Your identity as a reporter can only be disclosed to authorized investigating agencies. If anyone violates your confidentiality, they are guilty of a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in county jail, a fine of $500, or both.
We will keep the person who reported the incident anonymous so that the facility has no standing in pursuing any kind of action against the employee.
Those who suspect or observe abuse must report it because, quite simply, it's the law. The law says they are required and mandated.
If you work in a facility, you are a mandated reporter. That means if you don't report, you're breaking the law and you can be arrested.
The law goes hand in hand with the employees' what should be their mission, that if there's abuse, they should be part of the team of people that are trying to protect the elders.
I tell them all to report everything and anything they see. If they have a doubt, report it, because it's better reported than not reported at all.
Unless you get involved, the abuse will continue, or the person or facility will get away with it. And the person has an obligation when they see abuse to act on it. If it was their own mother or their own brother that this was happening to, would they want someone to overlook that?
Mandated reporters truly are the first line of defense for us. Unless mandated reporters come forward, these things will never come to light. We will never put an end to abuse and stop this increasing trend.
It's your legal duty to report. By reporting, you are following the law. By not reporting, you are breaking the law. It's that simple.
The purpose is clear: to protect those who can't protect themselves. Everyone has the right to be safe and secure in their own home, and for many, a long-term care facility is their home.
Most residents are frail. Many can't speak for themselves, and many more may not even comprehend that they are being abused. Helping protect them from agony, pain, and suffering is your responsibility.
My mother was born in Oklahoma, and she loved her family very much. She was very family-oriented. She loved to fish, and she was quite a left-handed fisherman. My dad used to tease her about that and her casting, but she loved that, and she loved her church and her church family. She always found a church that she could be happy in. My mother was 92 when she went into this nursing facility. She went in June. She passed away in August. Nobody called except my mother that night. She wanted me to know she was having trouble with the nurse, and she knew she was in trouble. She had started having all the symptoms of having a massive heart attack there. And they knew it. Being 92, she would have gone in a couple of weeks, month, 2 months. Maybe she'd gone another year or two. But it would have been her time. Not because somebody else didn't do the right thing.